Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome to another live session with the Hype Magazine. I'm your editor-in-chief, Jerry Doby, and this evening I have the distinct pleasure of introducing this young dynamo, a lioness by the name of Megan Jade. If you get done here and go to her music, you will understand why I called her a young lion. Just at full voice, this is one of the most dangerous singers I have ever heard. Okay, she's not Whitney, but bruh, she's got the goods. Man, new joint called Unemotional came out and is doing amazing. You've had an amazing journey from college to choir. Her voice is elevating the musical landscape. Megan Jade, thanks for being with us.
Of course, thank you so much. That's pretty big praise, especially coming from you. So I'm flattered. Thanks.
Yeah, I don't give praise often. I've got nine sisters, so I'm not impressed because you have a great voice. Your content, timbre, use of timbre, intonation, masterfully done on Unemotional. And then I also got a chance to hear you on Ghost. We did a great collab. Um, so welcome. And from the inside looking out, let's start there with a inter, introspective. Is that intro? Yes, introspective. From the
Yeah.
inside looking out, talk to me about singer-songwriter Megan Jade.
Um, like in terms of just this song, kind of from the inside
Oh,
looking.
just from the inside looking out, how do you see the artist Megan Jade?
Oh gosh. I think I don't know. The way that I write my songs is like all just it's super personal to me. So I feel like when you kind of hear the song and you're listening to it, you're kind of listening to me like read my diary to you a little bit.
Oh wow.
So, I mean, yeah, everything is like really kind of it's going into, especially this song unemotional is going into like a really toxic relationship kind of experience that I had. I think that's something that's pretty relatable for people. So yeah, I think it kind of just puts my whole like self and my feelings out on display a bit. And yeah, I like I've been singing since before I could talk, so like the whole like expressive kind of runs and stuff I like to throw in there. It's just very like, I don't know, it's really satisfying for me. So I feel like you get a good picture of like who I am and stuff that I've been through when you listen to it.
You said you've been singing before you could talk. Was there a defining moment where music said, "You belong to me. Come on, let's go."
I think also maybe it's too strong of a statement to say I was singing before I could talk, because I don't know if you call it singing, but I was trying.
Hey,
But yeah, I think from the time I was born, there's a lot of home videos of me just like blabbing along to songs. But I think that by the time I was like 5 years old, I saw a musical with my mom and came home and was like singing the whole soundtrack. I guess I remembered it. And yeah, I don't know. It's just as long as I can remember, I was like singing songs I wrote into a Barbie tape recorder as like a preschooler, I think. So I don't know. Just my earliest memories come from doing that. I don't know at what point it became like good to someone that wasn't my mom. Maybe that's yeah.
hey, I am a girl dad. I remember the Barbie voice recorder. Okay, and I think that's cute. Not in a bad sense, but like an immortal kind of way. Memories and be like, yeah, I used to ride my big wheel and pull the handbrake and get my swerve on. You're in the Barbie recorder singing. I, I I love it. I think it's relatable, across um, age boundaries. That story. Be like, yeah, I remember my daughter used to do that. Oh, what is she about? Let me see what this young lady is talking about. That's pretty good. All right. So you started out winging it, then you decided to, as you grew up, you went through the classical training process, got a music degree from UCLA.
Yep.
What kind of pressure was that? Them kids over there sang.
Yeah, it's definitely I had some imposter syndrome a little bit when I got in there. But yeah, it was a really cool experience to have and definitely being surrounded by other like really good musicians, you know. I my producer on all my songs I met in college when I was like 18 because we were two of the four people with the same major majoring in world music. It's like a very small kind of like every class that they let in.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, definitely it made me a better musician, I think, especially just being around other musicians like that. And I'm obviously super grateful I met my producer there because I love the beats he makes and everything. It's like I feel like yeah, I don't know. My sound in my music is so defined by like the style that I like and the production, the way that I like it to be, and he's like amazing at that. So
Where did the soul come from? And like, so okay, since you're college trained and I'm not, I got you at like low alto. What is your voice actually, what is your range? And I'm sure it's kind of wide, but in your natural state, on unemotional, kind of that low alto-ish. Is that right?
yeah, funny enough, I was a soprano in choir, but I was just singing such a different type of music. This is like what I always have like most resonated with is this like pop R&B kind of stuff. But if you look at like the range I sing in my songs, it's like technically I think a contralto is what you would call that. It's like low alto.
Okay.
Um, like I think the C below middle C is like what my lowest note is. So yeah.
Man,
Definitely pick up like a male singing range a bit, but that's the music I like to listen to. Also, it feels really like warm to me.
I honest to God, and I'm not trying to be funny. There were some sonics there in unemotional that kind of felt Whitney, at her low, in her low tone,
My
like
gosh, thank
the
you.
t-
That's
the
a big deal.
timbre. I'm just talking about the timbre. Don't take it crazy.
Oh no, I know. I'm not saying that I think you're telling me I'm Whitney Houston, but any
I'm not trying to
comparison
put no
to me.
pressure on you at all. Like it's already crazy. Yeah, but it just kind of reminded me of that. I was like, because there was a point I think on Always Love You that she got low and then she worked her way up the scale. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I would say Lil Luther in there as far as the voice as well. For the soul and you don't use a lot of what do you call it? Tremolo, the vibration or vibrato or whatever. You don't use a lot of that, but at some of the lower ranges, it just kind of vibrates a little bit. And I'm like, okay, okay. She's got the full toolbox. You have the full toolbox.
Well, thank you.
I I, I enjoyed it. I don't, I don't write about people that I don't like. I just don't. I'll
That
pass.
means a lot. Yeah, I mean, obviously any comparison to anything about what Whitney Houston sings is amazing. So I'm flattered to hear that. Definitely try to put a lot of thought into how I sing tonally too.
Well, I understand that you're influenced by, Kalani, Kiana Lede, Larissa Lambert, Dwee, and Ella May. So there's a huge range in there as well sonically, but you've made it your own. You don't sound like anyone else. Uh, it's just, yeah, I don't want to put too much pressure on you. I'm sorry. I'm excited about you because music needs you. And, some of the, I don't want to say older generation because I don't want Pink to call me and say, what the hell do you mean by older? I mean,
Mhm.
like, I want to say, look, this young line is here, is the next wave, is, part of the next wave. And I think that, we're going to be talking about you for years to come. I think you have a lot to offer, a lot of value to bring to the fabric of music overall. And I love the fact that, you mix the pop and the R&B but you're from LA. Where in LA did you pick up the soul, like that gut part?
That's a good question. And also, thank you. You're just saying so much nice stuff right now. I don't know. I mean, this is the type of music I've always gravitated towards. I just love stuff that's super rhythmic and, soulful, like expressive kind of singing. I think I a big part of that probably also came from studying world music in college, because I think like I just kind of studied music from literally everywhere. So, and even, including like all kinds of like history of music in like the US and like Caribbean, like Europe, just kind of all over the place. So I think that I got a lot of influences from that too, and got really into studying stuff that was really rhythmic. But also just, early like Amy Winehouse, I was obsessed with for all of college, and definitely some of like the singing and like lyrical type stuff from there too. I don't know, it's just like a mesh of a lot of stuff. I think maybe because I studied world music, I think that means I like just a lot of stuff. So I think it ends up being a mix of like just all the things I find myself getting into. But those people you listed are like definitely some of my favorite artists by far. And I think so much of just, the stuff I end up using in my music like comes from what I hear from, that type of stuff. I just love really soulful, expressive, like rhythmic kind of music.
Mm. So in choir in college, you had these world class choirs that you were part of, and I've never confessed this before on video that I sang in the youth choir in my church.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no, it was bad. The choir director says, "Look, there are only two males in the choir. We need the bass section. Let the other guys sing. You lip sync, and stop throwing my choir off. Just put the robe on and rock, you know, and stay out of it." I'm like, okay, I managed to do that. So I'm not musically inclined. What about the choir atmosphere helped you, gather your energy, learn how to focus, breath, timing, et cetera, for the music that you love to create?
That's a good question. I feel like a big part of it, there's so much stuff I learned that I like don't realize for a long time is stuff I'm still using. Like you mentioned, like when to breathe, or like how you shape your mouth on certain words and stuff like that. I think a really big thing I took away from that is like learning how to harmonize really well. Because I do all of my own vocal production, and I arrange all the harmonies and everything that are in there. And I definitely like, the ability to do that and to hear harmonies really well, and just on the spot think of them and sing them and stack them on each other is like a definitely a thing that came from singing in choirs, because I harmonized like so much, and we would spend like 20 straight minutes sitting there all holding the same note trying to perfectly tune to each other. I think that like made me specifically like really thinking about that type of thing, and gave me a lot of practice.
Uh-oh.
So I think that's like the biggest thing I got from it, and also just like performing so often, I'm like numb to being on stage from that. So
When did you figure out? Because for me, it takes a lot of trust to give your art to other people, and as you said, their personal stories. This is your life story, and put it out there for judgment, so to speak, for critics and supporters. I don't use the word fans, maybe you do, but the people who love your music or whatever. Did it? You can hide in the choir. You're part of a collective. Then stepping out solo. Now, granted, I understand you started young, but the first time you hit, you know, a large audience and you walked out and go, "Oh my God, I really am here alone, holding my own hand, getting ready to sing." What was that like for you? The differentiation between the choir and solo part?
I think that was especially singing my own music. Like it wasn't quite as scary, singing like solo singing at all. Like I've done that since I was a kid, like just getting on stage any chance I had singing songs. But singing songs I wrote is like so much weirder and scarier.
Uh-huh.
I think that like, yeah, that's a terrifying thing to, first of all, like so easy to be down on yourself about stuff you wrote. Like this is all coming from my own brain. First time seeing if anyone else thinks it's like halfway decent. And I'm just telling people this stuff that I only tell my mom or like my really close friends, like how I feel about something. So it's like definitely really weird and scary. But I think that like getting any sort of positive response from that, or like hearing people say that something I wrote like meant anything to them, or like helped them emotionally in some way, like I feel like that's the first time hearing that was just so rewarding. And I feel like that's the thing that makes it not scary anymore. I feel like my music is for whoever likes it and like connects to it. And I feel like when I go on stage now, I'm just like singing to those people, like I'm singing to, I think the cool thing, especially about like singing live, is like connecting with people who connect to the music, and like it's a moment for you and them and not anyone else. So I think it's like, it definitely was super weird and
Mm.
pretty terrifying. Now I look back and I feel like it was, I mean, yeah, it's like an amazing experience to get to do that now. So
And then your music, what I've heard, you know, it lends itself to creating this personal connection with the audience to the point where they're leaning forward, like, okay, what's she gonna hit next? Oh, wow, I went through that, or I felt that. So you have this personal connection. Do you have any moments, fan interactions where, that maybe highlighted for you where they said, you know what, thank you for this song. You really helped me out through a situation. And I know that your career is young and perhaps, you know, uh, you haven't shaken hands and kissed a lot of babies, you know, on a one-on-one. But has there been a time where somebody came up and said, your song, your music struck me so intensely that it helped me through a situation or made me feel something I didn't know I could feel?
I think actually I've mostly gotten that. There's been some comments like on YouTube and just online in general where I think maybe it's because it's easier to tell someone that over a message than in person, but I've gotten that more on like comments on songs, that I posted. But I think the first time I got something like that where someone was just like, this is like an intense thing that I'm going through this now, and this like made me just feel a lot better. This meant a lot. But that's like so rewarding to hear. But yeah, so that definitely sticks out in my mind. um and I think in like live shows, like I said, I think it's a little weirder to come up to someone in person,
Right.
but also I welcome people to do it. I don't know, I'm a very like person, or I don't know, I'm very just myself all the time, so I feel like I would love for people to approach me with that type of thing too. I don't know. But yeah, definitely that was like a really cool and crazy thing to hear for the first time. Yeah.
You keep pushing the way that you're pushing, people are going to hit you. You know, they're going to be waiting for you backstage. Thank you. You'll be on tour and they'll be in the lobby. Megan Jade, Megan Jade. You know, I I see it coming. I see a Beatles mobbing coming somewhere in your future. You're going to step off the tour bus and there's going to be 10,000 people waiting for you to come into the concert hall. You're going to be like, oh, I've arrived. That's going to be hilarious. I would like to be the fly on the wall to watch that happen. It will. I you weave together the pop, R&B, kind of indie, lo-fi, you know, um, genres together to create the Megan Jade sound. Do you remember like the time when you recognized that you had finally dialed in on the voice of Megan Jade?
Yes, actually, I have a tattoo about it. I made, so Ghost, the version that's out, is not the original version of that song. There's a
Okay.
version before Evander featured on it, and it was like not quite as well mixed. It was, a lot of the words were different. That's like an older one. But the first version of that was the first time I felt like I really found my like sound as an artist, and the thing that I've been trying to go for. See, I've been like I said, writing and making songs forever, and like never quite landed on like the sound being what I wanted until like that song was the first time I really felt like this. Like I'm really proud of the stuff that I'm making and like want, I'm just so happy with it. But I have a little ghost tattoo on my arm for that reason.
I love it. I love it. Okay. You talked about earlier on, you mentioned and I think everyone who's climbing the ladder and navigating this maze deals with it as successfully when you're being successful and people are receiving you well and you go, how did I get here? Talk to me about that full-length mirror moment when you started to acknowledge that I really belong here. I'm really good at this. And it's okay for me to be great.
Man, I feel like I don't know. I'm so the type of person that gets imposter syndrome. I feel like I'm just like a person existing, and for some reason, like I feel like my dreams are kind of coming true with the stuff that's happening. So I don't know. I don't know if I ever fully have that, but I think the first time like I I kind of had this stuff like sink in a little bit. I was like walking my dogs. I have a tiny, like 5 pound Yorkie that I walk around the neighborhood, and I was just like doing the same normal stuff that I do. And it was just like, it hit me a little bit, all this stuff. I don't know. And it was just like, yeah, okay, cool. This is my life now.
Deal with it, right? this, this is what it is. I would like to know, if you would permit me, what has been your wildest music creation moment? Like a sound, or somebody said something slick and you're like, "Ooh, that's a song," or "That's a hook," or and I understand that you said that it's mostly based, it's like a diary for you, but were there any outside influences that you just sat down and like, I gotta jot this down right now because I saw something crazy or wild, or it just sparked a song?
I feel like I have moments like that all the time of like I think songs hit me at the most inconvenient times. Sometimes like if I'm like in the shower or driving, I'm like I have to stop what I'm doing right now. It's yeah, I feel like I don't know, it's hard to pinpoint one thing like that,
Mm,
but I don't know. I think the in terms you mean like just in the writing process, I guess.
yes, yeah.
Um, I don't know. I think that probably actually a moment that kind of comes to mind really was like hearing a beat that my producer Vander made. He's like I said, the artist that featured with and also produces my songs. So I like first heard his production and just like fell in love with it and was like, I need you to produce all my songs now. I used to
Mm,
produce more for myself and like feel like I didn't quite on my own get what I wanted out of what I was making. So I like, yeah, I heard, and he made me like we've been friends since college. He made like a beat for me to write to for like as a Christmas present one time. He just sent it to me. He was like, Merry Christmas, here's a beat for you. And I wrote something to that. And I remember that was just a really like, I think that's kind of my answer to that question is that moment of hearing it and just being like flooded with ideas. I was like really excited because it was like, yeah, I don't know. He's so talented. I just like fell in love with every song that he makes. So yeah, I think that was the moment where I was just like, oh my gosh, I like this beat's amazing. I hear the song already. I need to make it.
okay. So you mentioned earlier also that you're a musician. Now, how many instruments do you play?
Um, let's see. I
50,
play piano.
60? You take it too
I mean,
long.
not singing is the one that I'm like proud of enough to regularly display for people. um, and I've played guitar and piano before live, but like I leave those more so to people I consider really super professional at it. But yeah, I play piano, guitar, bass, ukulele. I have a mandolin and I play it okay, but not amazing. And also psaltery, which is a Middle Eastern instrument, and that seems random, but I came across it actually as a gift. And the tin flute, but that's like playing a recorder, so that's not that impressive.
It is to those of us who can't play Mary Had a Little Lamb without flubbing the notes. There's only 5 notes in Mary Had a Little Lamb, and you know,
That's true. I taught that to a 4-year-old one time, so I think is pretty easy to do that one.
Yeah, so that's how bad some of us are, though. Nope. Okay. So world music. So when you're mentioning the you said the salter
It's a psaltery is what it's called.
saltery.
I'm not, I'm not trying to act like I'm a pro at these instruments. I can play it, but I'm not
No,
gonna.
it ties into you're taking world music and studying world music. So having these different, because you said ukulele, well, that's Pacific Islander, you know what I mean? Mandolin, what, Greek, Italian mandolin? Yeah. It's definitely Latin America-ish, right? Uh, or was it a gypsy instrument, mandolin?
The mandolin, I actually, gosh, I think, man, my memory is horrible. I would have to look up where exactly that one comes from because I picked up at like a flea market one time. So, um, but yeah, I think I actually have to look that up. My gosh, my memory is terrible.
Look, I wrote the note down. I'm going to look it up too. Mandolin, where is it from? Yeah. Um
I have literally the worst memory in the world. So if you quiz me on too many world music things, the facts about it may have escaped me at this point.
I promise you this is not going to be like sitting before the board defending your dissertation. I promise you it's not going to be like, you're getting your doctors and you're sitting in front of them and they're grilling you on your subject like you just spent 3 years researching this topic. I'm not going after you like that. I want to know what's the most fun for you. Is it the discovery of new techniques as a singer? Is it unlocking something new within your voice or creative process? What is the most fun for you about being Megan Jade?
Um, I think honestly, the thing I have probably the most fun doing is just writing songs. Like I said, I've been doing it since I was like a little kid, and I was just doing that instead of like writing in a diary. I just would like make my feelings into a song I wrote. Like I said, I'm sure they weren't good at that point when I was starting it, but I still just like I feel like the most satisfying thing for me is just to like I don't know, I sit down and I have a million melodies coming up popping up in my head all the time. And I feel like the funnest thing for me is just to like write this stuff and write my feelings into these songs. And like I could just sit and spend my entire life doing that. But yeah, that's the funnest thing. And like I said, working with Evander too, who is like the beats he makes are so good. It's like all the stuff that I love to hear in music I listen to. So yeah, just the process of making it is probably the funnest part. But that and just any musician, if you ask them, will say that they love singing live. That's like I think the most rewarding part of this whole process of making music is just singing is like so satisfying to do and like express yourself in that kind of a way. So yeah, but definitely writing is like the thing where I get so just into and obsessed with doing it.
Sounds like music and everything to do with music is kind of like air for you. You gotta have it. Seems like it's
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like people will ask me like what I do in my free time. I'm like, oh, I make music. And they're like, yeah, but what do you like other hobbies? I'm like, was I supposed to have other ones? I don't really know how to answer that question.
right. So when you love what you do, the work part is not work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have a problem putting the key in the ignition, turning it on, putting the joker in drive, and going where you gotta go. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to live your dream. And make a living. And congratulations, on your indie imprint plus your work with Bungalow and Universal Music.
Thank you.
Amazing history there, and getting an opportunity to be mentored by Paul Ring over there. I met Paul Ring like 20 some odd years ago. I was the talent coordinator on a documentary about Death Row Records, and we went to the office where to interview this executive, and Paul was running around there. We didn't interview him, but so it's just wild to make this connection. He's like, I've got this really amazing singer. I know you're gonna love her, Jerry. Give her a shot. I'm like, well, let me hear what's going on. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, I want to write about her and I want to follow her career and ensure that I do my part to help great music and a great artist, you know, reach as wide of an audience as possible. I'm so tired of you know what I'm tired of. You can look at me and usually the music that I'm probably going to listen to, you know what I'm tired of. And you know what I'm tired of looking at. I'm like, man, I don't want to see people getting beat up. I don't want to see people smoking weed. I don't want people, being too tough for themselves. I call it being too tough for yourself. Some real honest, emotional music, even though your song, the new song is titled Unemotional, I understand. But it's still emotional and you connect and you make people connect with themselves. I think Unemotional, for me, there was a moment in there where, I unintentionally met myself again. And I'm going, how did I get here? Damn that girl. I was like, I'm not supposed to be here. No, that was not, I'm not trying to make a joke. But I just thought it was
That's
amazing.
sweet.
I thought it was amazing. The buzz around Unemotional is growing. And I'm not playing sleuth or detective or stalker, but I'm watching the interactions on the social media as I'm prepping to have this conversation with you. And I'm like, man, okay, so I'm not the only one that feels it. And some of the comments, I won't quote anybody, but some of the comments of support, they have to just like make you grin from ear to ear. Like, okay.
Gosh, yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, writing this stuff, it's like I think the most like gratifying, I guess, part of this stuff is like when you hear responses about these things, like, that this stuff that I wrote like actually meant something to anyone. And I like, yeah, I don't know. It's really just really satisfying to hear that type of thing. I think that's, the goal of like putting out this stuff that I make is like it's for the people that are going to hear it, So it's amazing, kind of surreal to hear that type of thing.
From the college newspapers and journals to blogs, now giving me the honor of a conversation. Is there a question that the media has skipped around that you've always wanted to answer?
That, I don't know. That's a good question. I feel like, man, I don't know. I get asked enough questions. I don't really even, I'm like not sitting here all into talking about myself super hard, but I think, I don't know. I guess maybe like something that hasn't actually come up that much, which I guess I already kind of said today, though, was like an influence, not as much in the genre that I'm making. Because I think where I get like a lot of my style of writing lyrics and stuff comes from the amount of Amy Winehouse songs I listened to. Like I said, like all of high school, I was kind of obsessed. And it's funny because I guess that kind of R&B, pop R&B roots, it's like a different and like different time version of that. But so there's like some commonalities with this sonic aspect. And obviously like I love stuff that's just like soulful and like rhythmically interesting. But I think the thing that I really loved about her writing was just the way that like there wasn't ever a song where I thought the lyrics were like cheesy or dumb or like not really saying something. And I feel like I really just valued the way that like, you always felt something hearing the words and like you could read the lyrics and they'd be like a poem kind of. And I think that I try to put the effort into making my lyrics all, I'm never just gonna like throw a line in there to fill space. It's like I just want to say something with everything that I'm writing. So yeah, I guess a question maybe I hadn't been asked is related to that. I don't know, like where I guess my lyric inspiration comes from a little bit, because obviously I'm writing about like like I said, things that I've gone through and am experiencing and like what kind of emotions I'm going through. But in terms of like the style of how I put the lyrics together, I think that that's like probably been the biggest inspiration for me.
Mm.
Um, and just, always like challenging me to like make sure in general with my music, but especially in this way too, that like I'm never just phoning it in. It's always like I'm trying to say something.
Mm. You know, I don't, I agonize over sentence structure and where to put a word in a sentence for a paragraph to give the best impact. When, how many times have you fought with yourself over word placement in a verse?
Oh my
And
gosh, I'm so obsessive about stuff like
okay.
I'll really like whether the word should be like and or so is like I don't know. I'm ridiculous sometimes, but especially like because I think I'll always try to make the last line of a hook, especially like be something that like hits home well. Like you don't want to just end it weak. And the amount of time, actually, the next song I'm going to be putting out took me pretty much the whole song I wrote in, like a day or something, except the last line of the hook, I spent months and months sitting there trying to think of what it should be and just to like finish it all out because I wasn't thinking of anything that actually like tied it together and really like was saying what I meant to. So yeah, I don't know. I have a tendency to do that where I'll write the whole song so fast it's just coming to me, but then there's like one line I haven't filled in and I can't quite get the thing I'm trying to say, and so I just sit with it forever. So yeah, I'm super like that.
Okay. You mentioned punchlines. I'm like a pop R&B singer, and I don't put you in any box stylistically, but you know, that's the description that they assigned to you thus far. I'm just saying she's a great singer and she can sing anything. If it's singing or singing, she can do that.
Thank you.
I think you have great range. But the fact that you said punchlines at the end of the hook, I'm like, okay, so there's a hip hop influence in your writing process because you want to hit them at the end, like with a good Rodney Dangerfield at the end, not funny but impactful, right?
Yeah, no, even like, I mean, the way hip hop will have all these like internal rhymes and stuff too, like I try to go for that. I think that like, with the influences of these different genres, I think that pop is like known for having really strong hooks, but then these like all these different kind of styles of writing, like I said, hip hop has that tendency to use these like internal rhymes. And I think that that ends up making stuff like hit home so much more and like stick in your brain way more. So all that type of stuff I like intentionally put into it. I think that like it's, you know, I try to like pull from different genres and different styles the things that I like that I think like I don't know. I end up trying to make my music be like what I wish I could hear. Like I don't know. I think that's why I started doing it. I was like, I want to hear this, so I just try to make it. But yeah, definitely that whole the way of writing lyrically like that when it comes to like having like a punchy, line that ties stuff together, being intentional with these like rhyme schemes and stuff, it definitely like has a lot from hip hop as well.
Yeah. When you described it, I'm like punchlines. Okay.
Yeah.
You got bars in R&B. I love it. Let's go. Hell. Well, you obviously have coached your younger self, you know, through to the point where you are now, to where you're breaking out of the underground as an artist onto a larger stage as a solo artist. And, you know, everything happens in step stages and degrees. That's just how life goes. So I presume that your musical career is there following that same vein. But as you're navigating this maze called the entertainment industry, as a young person and learning the business, what has been the biggest surprise about the business part of the music business for you?
I think in terms of the business side of this stuff, funny enough, I think what I was
Pros. Oh Lord.
how much you end up with oh, I was saying how much of the time you'll like run into people who think they know exactly how to be successful and like really nobody actually knows. I mean, to some degree, obviously the real professionals and people like Paul and everything, they know like how this stuff works. They know like best things to do. But the amount of just like people you run into in the same place as you that are like, you have to do this. This is what you got to do. It's like these steps that it's funny. Like, I don't know how many people think they know like the answer to everything. And it's like, I don't know, at the end of the day, it seems like the people that had success, like none of us actually totally know what we're doing. We're just like trying our best.
I think we referenced the gut earlier. I think not only in making the music, but in business and just day-to-day living. My mama called it your first mind, right? You listen to that voice. If you're still enough, you can hear it, and it kind of guides you. The only thing is, there are so many weird people in the music industry. You never know when something's gonna go left. And it don't matter if you have a contract or not. They're like, oh, screw the contract, sue me, right? So I watch these horrible things happen, but then I watch these beautiful things happen with, independent artists having their own imprint, getting first count on their own money, and not necessarily filtering that through, I understand you have a, situation that's, you know, foundationally based on a major label. I understand that. And there's some things that go along with that, but still, uh, it's your independent imprint. So it's really cool that's tied in with these things. And having that freedom, the creative freedom, outside the choir director saying, no, sing it like this. And then you saying, this is me, and the people saying, I love you. You know, I don't know where I was going with that. I'm old.
Yes, I think there might have been some technical thing that made a noise a second ago, if that might have been a bit of a
I
distraction.
saw a flash and I had a moment in the back. I'm like, what's blowing up over there? This girl, you're doing fireworks and stuff in the apartment, in the house, whatever. I just play it, I'm climbing. I would like to know what you feel from Unemotional, your newest single. What would you like the audience to take away from that song? It's masterful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think what I would want people to take away is just it's something if you can connect to it in any type of way, like especially if you've been through that something similar. Like I said, the concept of the song just being this kind of toxic relationship and never getting back from someone what you're kind of giving and hoping for, and just being kind of like, going around in this circle. I think it's like a really common experience to have. And so like I think it's cathartic to hear if you've been through that type of thing. And I just think that what I'd like people to take from that is just like being able to connect to it and feel kind of catharsis when you hear it. Yeah, that, and just like I said, I try to make my songs be what I would want to hear. So it's, to me at least, like that kind of all the rhythmic stuff, the like vocal melismatic things, it's like satisfying to me. So I hope that people get that too when they hear it.
Amazing. Now, I've already had my fanboy moments at the beginning and throughout this conversation. I don't promise not to have more later on down the line, but I want to respect your time, and I thank you for coming on this late in the afternoon. Is there anything that you have tour schedule coming up? Any appearances that you want to talk about? I wasn't able to catch up on that news.
Yeah, in terms of stuff that's coming up soon, right now I'm just putting out songs every 1 or 2 months, so pretty constantly. So you've that to look forward to. I have some songs that are coming out soon that are like some of my favorite ones I've made, so I'm super excited about that. And yeah, I'll be posting shows coming up, pretty consistently on social media and stuff. That's all kind of just regular things I'm up to. But if social media, I keep all that updated so you can see there too.
Okay.
But yeah, just super excited to be in this situation working with Paul and everything, and really excited about the songs that are coming soon.
All right, everybody. The young dynamo, the young lioness, Megan Jade. The new song, Unemotional, it's amazing. Just dropped. She's out on all the DSPs. You know, I'm an Apple Music fan. I posted Spotify in an article to just share it, but let the artist get paid. Go to Apple Music, download the joint, go to iTunes, pay the, I don't even know what it costs anymore. $1.99, $2, whatever it is. Let the artist eat. They work hard, they promote hard, um, putting out their own bread, you know what I mean, to do this work that they love and share with us some magic. And so don't just stream it, go buy it, um, and show your appreciation more than a hand clap, a heart, or a fire emoji. All right, Megan Jade, where can they find you?
Thanks so much. So I'm on all the streaming platforms and everything is Megan Jade, obviously. My social media handle is Megan Jade Music on everything. So, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all of that. You can find me under that name. Um, Handle's the same everywhere. So yeah, Megan Jade Music.
Really
Not
enjoyed my time with you. Thank you so much for your patience. All right, everybody. The Hype Magazine live sessions, Megan Jade. Unemotional is out right now. Go get it. Support the artist. Stay tuned for more from us on this young lioness as we follow her career and her advancement. I think, as I said at the top of the conversation, we're going to be talking about this young lady. Is it okay? Is it politically correct to call ladies ladies now? Look, I'm not going to start no mess, right? Okay. She's dope. Megan Jade. Check her out. Hype.